at the movies with Tim Sika. Tim, welcome to the After Party Live yet again.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good.
Good. So, I we had a lot of movies with Michael Snyder on the Mark Thompson show, and I'm excited to see what you're reviewing this week. You got some good ones on your list.
Yeah, the first one, I guess, yeah, it's the big studio release. It's called The
Mhm.
Amateur.
Yeah.
And yeah, Oscar-winning actor Rami Malek, who won Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody. He played Freddie Mercury of Queen in that. In 2018, won the Academy Award for Best Actor. But in The Amateur, he plays this CIA cryptographer whose
Mhm.
wife was murdered in this London terrorist attack. And so he goes rogue and he embarks on this one man mission to hunt down his wife's killer. So that's the movie in a nutshell. It's essentially a revenge thriller,
Okay.
very formulaic with, very familiar beats that become really old really fast, and plot twists which were unsurprising and predictable to say the least.
Oh
With
no.
yeah, with a message and an ending, and without giving away that ending, that wants to have its message of revenge and internal institutional corruption, wants to have it both ways. So
Mhm.
this isn't a bad movie. It's just not a very good one in the sense that there's nothing new here, nothing we haven't already seen before. It's pretty standard stuff. And in terms of story, all of the film's narrative threads don't always cohere. The
Mhm.
standout element though in the movie is the performance of Rami Malek. He's a very unusual actor. He has this unusual look
Mhm.
and he brings all of that to bear in this movie. He makes some really interesting choices as an actor portraying this particular character, and he's just consistently interesting to watch. He makes the movie worthwhile, in my opinion, and frankly bearable. But the movie, unless you're a Rami Malek completist and you also happen to love revenge thrillers, I think you can skip it without any remorse whatsoever. It's not going to affect your life one way or another if you
Oh,
happen to pass on this movie.
it's such a bummer because both you and Michael Snyder were like meh on this one, and I thought it could be a really good movie. This could be a good one, but both of you were like, yeah, it doesn't really ever get there.
Yeah, no, it just, yeah, it doesn't. What do they say? It doesn't stick the landing. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh, what a
So
bummer.
yeah. Mm.
Let's talk about Warfare. This one seems interesting as well.
Yeah, intense and unrelenting and inexorably grueling are the best
Mm,
ways to begin talking about this movie, Warfare, which is an Iraq war drama that follows in real time this platoon of Navy SEALs on this mission through insurgent territory in Iraq in November 2006 during the final stages of the Battle of Ramadi. So, yeah, the film is co directed by Alex Garland, whose most recent film was Civil War, which we talked about on the after party,
mhm.
and Ray Mendoza, whose own Iraq war experiences served as the basis for this screenplay. So, this is real lived stuff
Mhm.
we're watching on screen. It's superbly crafted, which painfully and realistically evokes the horrors of war and puts the viewer front and center right in the battle, right smack dab
Mm.
in the conflict. So it's not pretty and it's not a fun experience watching this movie, but it is an excellent film if you can stand it. And watching, Kim, watching this movie, experiencing this movie, taking in this movie really makes you wonder how the men and women who fight wars of this intensity even come through it, come out of it at all. I mean, it's so intense. I recommend it. It's not for the squeamish, so the squeamish need not apply. But for those looking to get as close as possible to the experience of the hell that is war on screen, this is one of the best movies that achieves that and really is kind of a textbook movie dramatization of the idiom war is hell.
Mhm.
If you want to recommend a movie that that lives up to that axiom, this is the one. It's awfully good, but it was not fun in any way, shape,
Mm.
or form. Yeah.
It seems like a movie that maybe anyone going into the military should watch before they do it, maybe?
Yeah, then maybe they would regret having signed up for the military.
I don't know. Well, I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't know. Yeah,
or you know what you're getting into,
yeah, you would
you know?
definitely know what you were getting into. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
How about this
So
one? Thank you very much.
thank you very much. This may very well be, in my opinion, the definitive documentary on Andy Kaufman, the controversial
Oh,
comedian who most people probably know best from the sitcom Taxi, where
hmm
he played Latka Gravis,
totally.
his foreign man character, and later for about 3 or 4 episodes anyway, his alter ego, that annoying and obnoxious lounge lizard, Tony Clifton. Remember Tony Clifton?
Mhm.
Anyway, so this movie, thank you very much. It's directed by Alex Braverman. It's a really fascinating and illuminating portrait of Andy Kaufman's weird and most of the time uncomfortable comedy, his personal life, and his career, which can kind of be summed up by, I think it was Danny DeVito who said in the movie that Andy's messing with reality is everything that Andy Kaufman was about. And that his act, a vehicle for transcending, he didn't take you out, he took you in, was all about audience embarrassment and about a guy who shouldn't be there on stage. That kind of sums up this guy's weird humor. And so the film covers Kaufman's surreal beginnings at SNL. He was on the first season, to him reading The Great Gatsby on stage. I mean, he would
Oh,
read the entire novel on stage and people would be like screaming at him to get off and he wouldn't. And to his bizarre dating game appearance, I remember that one, to his just standing on stage next to a record player playing the Mighty Mouse theme while he stood there on stage miming the record, to his appearance at Carnegie Hall, which one of his dancers in that act actually had a heart attack and died on stage.
oh God.
Yeah, and then there was all this wrestling. Remember all that wrestling of the ladies he did? He would challenge women to wrestling matches. And then that character of Tony Clifton, all of this is impressively chronicled in this movie, which also serves as a kind of a psychological portrait of this one of a kind comedy genius. I never thought I would ever admit that in public. I've never been convinced that Kaufman was little and nothing more than a mentally disturbed person with loads of ambition and chutzpah. But
hmm
until I saw this movie, which makes a very compelling and practically unimpeachable case for the genius of Kaufman's art. If you've never heard of Andy Kaufman, you have to see this because it really does penetrate the veil of Andy Kaufman and provides this potent glimpse into who this guy was and what he at least attempted to achieve through his totally unhinged brand of comedy. And if you think you already know Andy Kaufman, there's still lots of compelling stuff here, rare and never before seen footage that will only add to what you think you already know about this guy. So I recommend people checking it out. Bay Area folks can avail themselves of it at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco, where
Oh,
it is currently screening, currently playing. So yeah,
so
it
it's at
was
the
awfully good.
Roxy
Yeah,
and at select theaters. Is it online streaming yet?
not yet, but I'm sure it
Okay.
will be soon. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's go to Sacramento.
Yeah, as in California,
hmm
this is a man-child comedy. That's the best way to describe it. About these two best friends who go on this road trip together from LA to Sacramento to scatter the ashes of the father of one of them who recently passed away. Basically, it's a two-hander comedy, at times a cringe comedy. It
Oh,
stars Michael Angarano, who also wrote and directed. Yeah, he's in there. Where is he? He's one of the guys in the poster there. And Michael Cera as the two best friends. Kristen Stewart plays the pregnant wife of Michael Cera, and Maya Erskine plays the estranged former girlfriend and mother of the Michael Angarano character's baby. So this is what I like to call a ragtag indie. It's a personal movie, little movie about friendship, the difficulties of friendship. It's about personal responsibility and being an adult and what that means. I think what do the Gen Zers call it? Adulting. I think that's
adulting.
what adulting.
hmm
That's what this movie is about. I think it's a good movie for Gen Zers to see, and despite the fact that it's a little uncomfortable watching the dynamics of this dysfunctional friendship play out on screen,
hmm
I like this film. I found it sweet and unpretentious. There was a scooch of wisdom thrown in here for good measure. It boasted very fine across the board acting. It was a gentle reminder to us all that blame in life is a total waste of energy.
Mhm.
What did Dustin Hoffman say to Steve McQueen and Papillon? He said the blame is for God and small children. I always remember that
Mhm.
line. I thought that, yeah. Anyway, it also serves as this kind of reminder, this movie, that all of our actions have consequences, and that the best way to get on in life is to just take ownership of what we do, what our actions are, and just get on with the business of living. Anyway, that was my takeaway from this movie, which I really, really enjoyed very much, and I recommend.
Okay, Sacramento. The next one is called The Luckiest Man in America, or The Luckiest
Yeah,
in
yeah,
America? Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. The Luckiest Man in America. This is a somewhat flawed, but still reasonably interesting drama about this. I'd never heard of this. It was about this game show scandal that involved this program called Pressure Luck in the mid 1980s. I think it was 1984. But more specifically, it's about the guy who was at the center of the scandal. His name was Michael Larson. This guy with a somewhat checkered past. He was always dabbling in financial fraud and getting rich quick schemes and related dubious activities. Anyway, he's played beautifully here in this movie by Paul Walter Hauser, who's in the poster there. And the game show so-called controversy stemmed from the fact that Larson, when he appeared as a contestant on Pressure Luck, he won a record-breaking amount of money. It was something like $110,000, which is like equivalent now to something like $350,000. But the producers of the show, as this was going on and unfolding on live television, as Larson was winning dollar amount after dollar amount, the producers thought he was cheating. But it turned out, after an investigation, that he had, in fact, through observation of these light patterns on the game board, figured out the game and memorized it. In other words, he had gamed the system, which it could be persuasively argued meant that he was not cheating at all.
No.
He just figured out what they were doing, and
Mhm.
he discovered the formula. So that's enough here for me to recommend this movie. After researching, though, the actual so-called scandal, which appeared to me anyway to amount to just some awkward live television moments, in retrospect, it doesn't seem like much of a scandal at all, or maybe even one that would warrant this kind of treatment. To me, it seems like a much ado about nothing thing. Today, certainly, I doubt that this occurrence, given our warped social fabric in the era of Trump, would even get any notice. I mean, so that
This is
said,
this is
yeah,
tame compared, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nothing. I mean, I don't think people would bat an eyelash.
Yeah.
Like, if this happened, nobody would notice it. But that said, I think the movie would have fared better if it had been more about the guy, Michael Larson, and his
Mhm.
character, his past, and that kind of thing, and less about the Pressure Luck scandal per se. With that just being, one of the chapters in this guy's life, I suppose that's carping, but still. What else did I? The music score, although it's really great music that's composed for this movie, the music score is way too big a character in this movie. It's almost intrusive at times. Like you're going, well, what the? Anyway, that was obviously deliberate, but weird, and would from time to time take you out of the film to listen to the music. But all that aside, I still think it's a worth checking out film, if for nothing else, like The Amateur and Rami Malek, worth seeing for the central performance by Paul Walter Hauser, who's awfully good in this movie.
Mhm. Interesting. Okay. The
Yeah.
next one is streaming, and it's called The Lifeless.
Yes, we talked about this movie last
And
week,
I
or rather,
love
you
this
talked
movie.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, having raved about it and recommended that I check it out, which I did, and I have to agree with you and your general assessment
Mhm.
that here lies a really good film, one of the better Netflix films about this young woman played by Sophia Carson in the poster there, who before she can receive her inheritance is given a series of tasks to perform by her late mother via a number of pre-recorded DVDs. Her mom is played by Connie Britton. I love Connie Britton.
Mhm.
I'll watch anything Connie Britton is in. But anyway, her mother recorded this series of things for her daughter to do before she could claim her inheritance based on a list, the life list of the title, that the daughter made when she was 13, goals that the daughter wanted to achieve, which the mom thought maybe the daughter had long since forsaken, and
Mhm.
and wasn't living her best life. So yeah, I mean, this movie was a nice movie. It was a nice surprise. Well, actually, I wasn't surprised. I mean, you had raved over it about
Yeah.
it, but it's about, it's relatable to, I mean, aside from rom-com, which I'll get to,
Sure.
but it was a nice story about how so many of us will give up our youthful goals
Mhm.
and dreams and aspirations as we get older and wind up instead playing it safe,
Yeah.
with life, settling and
Mhm.
foregoing that notion of living our best lives because, well, we figure, oh, it's too impractical, I'm getting too old, it's too complicated, or whatever excuse
Yeah.
we give ourselves. And all this stuff that I just mentioned is wrapped up in a love story between the Sophia Carson character and the young lawyer, executor of the mom's estate, played by Kyle Allen, who
Mhm.
when I was watching this movie, I remember I actually met Kyle Allen 4 or 5 years ago at a Netflix party
Really?
in Los Angeles. He had just starred in this fantasy rom-com called The Map of Tiny Perfect Things about two teenagers stuck in a time loop. And yeah, he was very shy and self-effacing and nice and sweet, like the character he plays in The Life List. So I think he was playing a lot of himself in this movie based on my interactions with him. Anyway,
Mhm.
he was also in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. He played one of the Jets. But anyway, yeah, nice movie, full of a lot of genuine emotion. Oh God, one of the last scenes in the movie, I, will have, if people are with this movie, there's a close to the end scene that will have people grabbing for their Kleenex. The one where the
Yeah.
daughter appears with her mom in the last DVD
Yeah.
she made before she died. Oh my God, that got
I
to
was
me. And
crying.
oh
This
man,
movie is so funny too. It has such a
yeah,
quick-witted script, and
yeah.
it's surprising how amusing it is, and you just kinda find yourself wrapped up in the story, and you're laughing because it's funny, and then you're crying because it's emotional, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
one of those movies. I was so surprised to find this random Netflix movie that was so good.
yeah, and nobody, it's not getting a lot of push.
Right.
Netflix will occasionally email us critics saying, "Hey, look for this movie, watch for this movie." This just came out of left field, and I
Yeah.
would not have seen it had you not recommended it. But we're talking about it now because we want people to see it because it really
Yeah.
is good. I did think, okay, so I'm going to be a little grouchy here. I did. I
Mhm.
did think the events in the movie at times were a bit kind of too coincidental.
Yeah.
The lawyer just happened to be doing pro bono work at a women's shelter,
Mhm.
who just happened to be looking for a teacher to
Yeah.
finish out the term, as well as the guy that she met on the subway while reading
Don't
Moby Dick.
question it,
Ju-
Tim. Don't question it. Sometimes life works
I
in mysterious ways, my friend.
you are absolutely right. I'm not going to argue. Yeah, I know I can't help but seeing these things. But here's the thing, and you're right about this, Kim. If you
Mhm.
get caught up in the emotion of the piece, none
Mhm.
of what I said just matters. A lot of the movies I really love, if I go back and look at them, I'm going, wait a minute, this is like such happenstance. This doesn't happen in
Mhm.
real life, but it can. It's possible. It might be unlikely, but yeah, yeah. So yeah,
I
it's
I
it's a
asked
good movie.
my
Good.
I asked my mom if she, because we always, if we get a good one, we say, "Oh, watch this one."
Yeah,
And I said, "Have you seen The Life List?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, the movie is so great." So
yeah,
everyone I've
yeah.
talked to that watches it really likes it as well. At
Yeah.
first, I thought, "Was I just in a good mood when I watched this movie or what?"
No,
But I
no,
really
no.
loved it. Yeah.
No, I actually watched it twice
Oh, wow.
because you had praised it so highly, and I wanted to just see if it had that same effect. It was just an excuse for me to be lazy that day. I watched it. I watched it. I don't know, a few days after you had recommended it, and then just yesterday I watched it
Oh,
again, and it was just as good. It's a really good movie based on
yeah.
some book that I never heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, nice movie. Yeah,
I
if you
hope
want a
you
good cry.
I hope you take this review and email it to them so that they know we really liked it a lot.
I'm going to do that. I am going
Good.
to do that. Yeah, I
Right.
will. I absolutely will.
Tim Sika's classic movie recommendation of the week. Ship of Fools.
Ship of Fool. Yeah, we've been recommending a number of films who have been celebrating their 60th anniversary this year. Dr. Zhivago and The Sound of Music being just two of those movies. So I'm thinking, okay, why not recommend this next classic movie, Ship of Fools, which I had forgotten about, which was also released in 1965, and it's celebrating its 60th anniversary, and which, Kim, at the time of its release, was considered the quintessential definition of a Hollywood adult picture. And I'll try to explain that. But it's based on Catherine Ann Porter's novel of the same name, which is still on my books to read list. I keep meaning to read this book. I just never getting around to it. Anyway, the screenplay adaptation is by Abby Mann, and the movie was produced and directed by Stanley Kramer. And it's basically Grand Hotel at sea with all the action taking place instead of a hotel on board an ocean liner that's bound for Bremerhaven, Germany from Veracruz, Mexico in 1933. So it's an ocean liner, people with a cross section of society whose stories interconnect and intertwine. And we have a great cast here: Oscar Werner, Simone Signoret, Lee Marvin, George Segal, Elizabeth Ashley, and the great Vivian Lee in her final screen appearance. They're all fantastic. Stanley Kramer knew how to cast his movies. He knew how to corral all these great actors and jam them into one movie. This is just another example of that. And this is, as I mentioned, it's an adult picture with, and keep in mind, 60 years ago, with, for its time, graphic language about sex and dealing in important themes. The main one being Nazism and the rise of fascism, while people rationalize their way out of doing anything to prevent it. So I watched it again last night, and it's more relevant now, perhaps, than it's ever been. I couldn't believe how relevant it was to what we're all experiencing now. It's just amazing. Anyway, it was also nominated for 8 Academy Awards when the Academy Awards used to mean something back in the day, including Best Film and Actor and Actress and Supporting Actor. And I think it won a couple for its black and white cinematography and art direction. But it's just a great drama based on a very famous and notable book, which I still have to read one of these days. But I love the movie. I've seen it many times, and I highly recommend that if people are looking for a good classic movie, they check this one out. It is available to rent on Amazon Prime. I think it's like $3 or $4, and it's worth it. It's a long movie too, so you get your money's worth.
Well, if the still pictures are any indication of the good acting in this
Yeah,
movie.
look at that one, Vivian
Mhm.
Lee and Lee Marvin. Oh man, there's a scene in which the character that Lee Marvin plays, he's like this faded baseball player who thinks he's going into a prostitute's cabin, and it turns out to be Vivian Lee's cabin. And
Oh,
I don't know how they faked this scene, but she takes her shoe and basically bashes his face in. Uh,
wow.
yeah, and I don't know how fake that was. It didn't look faked at all. Anyway, it's a great scene. There's a number of great scenes in this movie. Yeah, Oscar Werner there in that scene, he plays the ship's doctor with heart problems, and he kind of develops a relationship with this expatriate woman who's being exiled from her country, and she's a drug addict, and so he's kind of supplying her with drugs to make her go to sleep. It's a ship of
Wow.
fools. This movie. It's about all these people who are like doing all these things, and they're totally oblivious to the fact that they're doing all these things, which are just making them look like clueless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I love this
All
movie.
right. We're
Yeah,
gonna recap it. We started it off with The Amateur, which you said
meh.
has predictable plot twists, not a bad movie, just the standard stuff here. You said Rami Malek is good, but the movie, yeah, you said meh. As
Meh.
far
Yeah,
as Warfare, you said it's intense, it's grueling, it puts you right in the middle of the battle scene better than any movie has before, but it is not a fun experience because you're right in the middle of the battle scene.
yeah,
You said
yeah,
it's an excellent film if you can stand it. You recommend it, but not for the squeamish at heart. Can't do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
As for thank you very much, you said It makes a great case for the genius of Andy Kaufman's art and comedy. It's compelling with never before seen footage, and you are recommending. Thank you very much. Sacramento, you found some things to like about this movie. You said it's kind of a man child comedy and that it was uncomfortable, but it was also, you said, sweet and unpretentious with some good acting and some good messages as well. You enjoyed Sacramento. The Luckiest Man in America. You said of this one, would have been better to focus on the main character, the man, instead of the scandal that he was involved in. You said the music was used a little strangely in this movie, but you called it worth checking out. So, the
Yeah.
Life List, we both loved this movie. I loved it. You really liked it. I loved it. I don't know. You said it's one of the better Netflix movies. It's streaming. You called it relatable with a nice story full of genuine emotion. And you said it's a good movie. And I think
Yeah,
so too. The Life
me
List.
too. And Netflix, keep making movies like this. We love
Mhm.
that when you make movies like this. Yeah. So,
Please, more movies
yes.
like this.
Yeah.
The classic movie recommendation of the week, Ship of Fools. You said it's relevant to our current times in an amazing way. And you said it's a great movie. So you want to celebrate Ship of Fools this week. Check it out. You said it's streaming. Did you say where it was streaming?
Yeah, it's available for rental for $3 or $4 on Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
And it's
And
worth it. It's worth
there
it.
it is.
Yeah.
I love it. At the movies with Tim Sika. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Kim. Talk to you next week. You have a great weekend.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.